Welcome to the weekly episode of the Freelancer Codex podcast. Your host, Steven, and co-hosts Mike, Devin, and JD are all set. Join us and tweet your questions at Freelancer Codex. Find us on Facebook at Freelancer Codex, or send emails to freelancercodex@gmail.com. Strap into your javelins, and let's drop in.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 120 of the Freelancer Codex podcast, longest running Anthem podcast in the universe, I believe, still. I think we still hold that title. I am your host, Steve, along with my three co-hosts and a special guest. We're here with Devin, Mike, JD, and who else? And with, sorry, I just totally lost my train of thought here. We are also here with Sarah Elmaleh. I wanted to make sure I got that right because I was really worried that I was not going to get that right. Sarah, how are you doing today?
I'm all right. I'm so pleased to have my name pronounced correctly. It's refreshing.
That's good. Is that one of those things where when people mispronounce it, you just kind of let it go because you'd rather not,
Oh, yeah.
So
I'm not going to make a whole scene. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it does mean that, like, when I get a moment, it gives me a very valuable pause in between a telemarketer's call, and they're like, "Hi, it's Sarah," and I'm like, "Bye," like, because they're like struggling to figure out how to say my name. I'm like, you know what? You don't know me clearly. Ta-ta.
So you have 3 seconds to get it right, or it's like, sorry, we're hanging up. I mean,
yeah,
do you have other?
You don't know me. Bye.
So what's the most common pronunciation that you get from your last name?
Probably Elmaleh, I think.
See, and that's what I thought it was going to be. So I figured I'd better ask you before I sounded like a telemarketer on this show. So
I would have forgiven you. I know what we're doing here today. I know what day it is. No, I don't.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you being here, Sarah. And Sarah, for those that don't know, was the voiceover artist for the Freelancer and Anthem. You are also the co-founder of the online games conference, Gamedev World. You're an actor, game dev advocate. You also speak a lot of the trade shows, moderate a lot of the talks at some of the trade shows. You were in For Honor. You were in Gone Home, Gears 5, Pyre, and you did the Amazon, the Alexa Jurassic World reveal. That was done a really long time ago, and I think that's a super interesting thing that I need to ask you about.
Sure.
But Sarah, thank you for being here. We are the longest running Anthem podcast. So
I love
for me in
that.
particular, so I played as the female freelancer. So I've had your voice in my head for hundreds and hundreds of hours. And I never thought I'd be able to talk to the person that I was like, because
Wow.
I don't get to have a conversation with the freelancer. So I was like, oh, I've heard your voice and now getting to talk to you and ask you all these fun questions about how that experience went. I'm excited to dive into that. And then we can
I just have to say that my mind is like equally blown. Because I never get to touch or talk to I rarely get to sort of experience folks who are encountering me in this way and spend certainly that much time. And so I have questions for you. Like, I want to know what it's like to be you. Like, do I sound very different than your freelancer? Is question one. I tend to be a lot more silly than she is. But like, you tell me, did I sound different?
So yes, you actually do sound different. I was waiting to hear, and I'm like, okay, so she does sound different. And I don't know, depending on how encoding works, how different microphones work in studio, if you're doing a voice or if that's just the personal voice that you are using. Because right now, to me, you sound, you can pick out the similarities, but you do sound like side by side. I would guess that it was a different person.
I love it. I love it. I love my job. I mean, I'm not doing to answer your question. I think there's a question in there about whether I'm putting on a voice. I am for the freelancer. I did not. It's pretty close to my voice print. It's just such a different mode. Like it's funny because I do often get cast for like sort of tougher chicks who are pretty capable, and like I don't do as much higher range folks and things like that as often. So I get hired for toughness and things. And I the freelancer isn't as tough as some of the folks she's not the raider, right, from For Honor,
Right.
who I probably sound even more different than. But yeah, but she's just sort of me on a tough day. She's like me on a capable, tough day. Whereas me most of the time is running around flailing my arms like a Muppet. Like that's just a different mode. But it's not like I don't think about it like I don't think about it like it's me with a voice on. It's just like, oh, all right, let's settle into action mode. Okay, here we are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nice.
So for a lot of voice acting, I mean, is it normally just, hey, come in, use your voice just with a little twist? I mean, I know there are some voice actors that also do the accents. I mean,
Mhm.
do you have a particular accent that you enjoy doing a lot of the time that's just like your go-to? It's like, hey, I can bust out this accent anytime. Here we go.
It's funny. I think when I was younger, I had more of what I considered back pocket accents, and I don't know if my ears just gotten more more picking up more detail and kind of being more critical of actual authenticity than I was when I was younger, or if I'm or if I'm not using my accents as much as a muscle. But when I was younger, I would have said, yeah, like I have a solid English RP, a lot of British Isles, less American South than I would like, actually, as far as specificity, really understanding the regional differences there. But I have a good ear. So it's funny because some of the accents I've been hired for in games are not accents that I would consider to have in my back pocket. And so what happens is I like watch a movie or listen to a podcast or find as many interviews as I can, and I kind of soak it all up like a sponge. And then I go into the booth for 4 hours and I stay in that mode as much as I can. And I leave and I'm like, would I say I can do a New Zealand accent? No, but I sure just did, and I hope no one hates me. You know,
That's awesome.
that's more my process. Even after party, there was like some chick from Northern England, and I was like, I
Huh.
found some charming YouTuber from Shropshire or wherever, and I was like, all right, buddy, it's you and me. Let's go. Yeah.
So is it really just getting into that headspace for a couple hours and almost like just, immersing yourself in the accent, come out of it, throw your lines down, and then, almost like cramming for a test, maybe?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, ideally, you give yourself some time so you're not just. I mean, cramming for the accent, I suppose, like, and certainly preparing for the accent, but there's almost no prep involved in voiceover. I've used this distinction a number of times, and I feel like it's working out well, so I'm gonna stick to it, and that is that there's almost no preparation in voiceover, only conditioning. So if you think about yourself as an athlete, you're not, you're not memorizing exactly what you're gonna do on the day of a game. What you're doing is you're staying in shape, and you're staying ready to go, and you're staying versatile and nimble and warmed up and all of those other things so that you're ready to do whatever needs to be done on the day, and that's true of voiceover too, because you rarely get scripts. I mean, it's different for performance capture. Then you're getting off book, and you are actually learning your lines and preparing a bit. But for booth voiceover, of which there's both in Anthem, right? Just booth voiceover and performance capture, for me anyway. Then you are mostly just kind of staying ready. Um, and staying warmed up. I've been very bad about my warm-ups. I have to be better about my warm-ups. I usually do them in the car, so I have to, like, remember as soon as I wake up to warm up my voice.
So,
So
so it sounds like you also kind of have to be really good at improv then, because it's not memorizing lines. It's go in, be flexible. Hey, can you say it
Mhm.
like this a little bit different? I mean, does that skill come into play a lot then?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're not making up the lines most of the time, so it's not improv in the sense of coming up with content per se, but you do need to be it is a very good skill to have for voiceover and an essential to cultivate. I'm actually in a virtual improv workout group right now with a bunch of other game voice actors, and it's so satisfying and nice. And it works those muscles well. But yeah, being spontaneous and committed and bold in your choices, really, really believe in your choices and have them come from you without any hesitation. Creating variety on the spot, not being married to any particular way of saying something or thinking about a line. All of that is trained in you in improv and really comes in handy for sure.
nice.
Very cool. Well,
Now
Sarah,
we
before
can
we
chat. Did you see that, Steven? Or not?
Yeah,
Mhm.
but before we do that, I wanted to thank a couple of our patrons.
Oh,
We try to do that at the
Thank you,
top of the show,
patrons.
then we'll jump back more into questions for Sarah that I have. So first, we want to thank the patrons that we have for the show. It means a lot for everyone's support, especially during this really difficult time. So thank you very much. So we wanted to thank Jules, Nathan B, Michael R, Trent B, Man in Still, Scout, Tony K, and Volkai. We really appreciate all the support that you guys give to us. It helps keep things running on our end. So thank you very much.
Thank you,
So Sarah,
patrons. hmm
yes.
Sorry, just
Um,
trying to help. What's up?
no, that you please you help as much as you want. I will shut up. We are here to listen to you because I mean, people show up to listen to you. So that's what a lot of people are here to do. So now Vic from chat on Twitch wanted to know, and I don't know if you do like, hey, can you do this accent on command, but do you have a go-to cowboy accent?
A cowboy accent? That's
That is what
interesting.
Nalvik wants to know in the chat.
I think cowboy sort of makes me think of like Holly Hunter. Like I feel like or even Texas. Texas has sort of a mumbly kind of Joel from Last of Us. I think is from Texas. But yeah, I don't know if that's accurate at all, but and cowboys are also kind of a mythic creature as much as anything else. But yeah, those are the ingredients. Those are the things that I would start to think about if I were to make one.
Wow.
So the answer is yes. Then you can do that.
Oh, I don't know. If I screw up my
So-
face, something will come out.
And that's what I do. Half of it is like just making half of your lip go up, kind of like an
Yeah,
Elvis style
right.
thing. If you're a cowboy,
Mhm,
acting like
mhm.
you've got a piece of hay in your mouth while you're chewing on that.
Sure.
So Sarah, along with voice acting, working on Anthem, you co-founded Gamedev.World.
That's right.
You
Yeah.
you explain to me and my co-host and everyone else what exactly that is?
Yeah. So Gamedev.World is a free online global games conference, which means it's broadcasting talks um, on game development from a variety of disciplines in game development folks, and then folks who are doing game development from around the world in their native language. So it's translated live into 8 languages. So we have talks in 8 different languages, kind of a variety of talks in 8 different languages, and then they're all translated into those 8 different languages, which gives you an opportunity to kind of connect with practitioners. It's very different hearing someone speak in their second language than it is in their first. And so I think it creates sort of an intimate connection to these folks who you may not think of as sort of the most visible people creating games necessarily, but are also like, we had folks from South Africa who are like making indie games, and they're working with different tools and in a different environment and different inspirations than we are here in North America. So the idea was to kind of break open barriers, cultural barriers, and certainly language barriers of game development insight and knowledge, so that everybody around the world can benefit. And it's our industry is particularly technologized, right? So we have the technology, the virtual online technology to do that. So we thought that while other events exist to bring people in physical meet space, to each other, and that's extremely valuable. I have many treasured game memories and moments of meeting kindred spirits at physical events. But at the same time, there's folks who can't afford to attend those events and things like that. So we kind of see ourselves as a complementary, urgent, and doable kind of supplement to that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think, when with the coronavirus spreading across the country
Yeah.
and across the world, we kind of take those chances to meet together and things like E3 and PAX kind
Mhm,
of for granted. And,
mhm,
having that digital so other people can come, it's kind of like you guys are, already have a leg up saying, hey, we know how to do this. We can do this.
mhm,
We can help
mhm,
people, hey, we can still do these type of events, even if we're
mhm.
not meeting in person, right?
Yeah.
And just last week, you guys raised over $80,000 for the GDC
Yeah.
Relief Fund.
Dang.
Talk
Nice.
about
Yay.
you talk about that, what you did, how you did it, why
Yeah.
you did it. I mean, I saw you retweeting a lot of people streaming
Mhm.
on Twitch,
Yeah.
almost every day.
We had 3 days of virtual programming, and then the actual bundle. It was a number of things to explain. So when GDC was canceled, we were aware because of our mission statement in our community of folks that would be disproportionately, really heavily impacted by that. Folks saving up, especially indies, say from Africa, the cost to attend GDC and get themselves physically to GDC is vastly more, proportionally more heavy for them than maybe for some other folks. So we thought of all the folks who had like invested heavily in GDC as this moment in their development cycle to make some meetings happen, to make some business opportunity happen, um, to get to meet and connect with the right people in order to kind of do business, as being really as like a major loss, a lot of money and lost and people affected. So another a fund, actually. It's called the Wings Fund, which has a mission of funding marginalized independent developers. Immediately set up a relief fund to kind of help offset those losses. And we committed right away to running a fundraiser to help support that fund. We ran live talks and kind of hangouts for the actual fundraiser itself. We also had a jam, so folks were making little games jamming to put into a bundle. So you could buy a bundle of all these games. It was over 100 something games that you could get from donating. Um, so these 3 different pieces, the jam, the bundle and the fundraiser all kind of coming together to drive funds to that initiative to kind of help folks out. So I was particularly involved in the programming and running of the fundraiser, not the tech side, mind you. So I reached out to a few friends that I thought would have some cozy, nice kind of comfort food but also insightful, stuff to say, to connect with the community, either playing music or talking about their process or streaming games, things like that, to kind of rally everybody together.
And that's awesome. And is there a place where people can still go to contribute to
Mhm.
this fund? Is there still time? And do you want to
Oh,
give that website out?
that's a good question. I'm not sure that the bundle is still up. I think it expired on, I think that $80,000 is where we ended the availability of the bundle. I'm not sure. It's possible that although applications to receive funding from that relief fund are closed, you may still be able to donate to the fund itself. I'm not sure. But the place to go check for that, if you want to watch any of the fundraiser, our archives are up. There's some really talented folks. I mean, Austin Wintry and Darren Korb and a bunch of other folks doing content. You can still watch the fundraiser at the Gamedev.world Twitch. I believe it's twitch.tv/GameDevWorld_EN for English. And the fund is run by Wings Fund Me, or like Wings Fund Me is their handle on most social media, but the
Okay.
Wings Fund would be the place to kind of see if they're still accepting donations for the relief fund.
Awesome.
And
So
maybe
everyone,
even
if
our
you
website
can,
still has that info too. Gamedev.world/donate, maybe.
awesome. So anyone that can, I know it's kind of tough right now to find a couple of extra dollars, but if you can, please go donate, help, because I mean, that's hard to get represented and get if you're a small indie developer from
Mhm.
somewhere far away, it's hard to get known. I mean, I know Sony,
Mhm.
Microsoft, Nintendo, they've been making huge pushes for indie developers
Mhm.
recently. I think I mean, when you think of all the games that come out on Steam, like every day, even there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of titles that come out, and it's
Mhm.
hard to get noticed. So
Mhm.
it's tough to spend all that money to try to get noticed at a big show and then to not have that happen. So I think that's amazing work that you guys are doing.
Thank
So
you.
Sarah, I would love to know what games you are playing now. I know recently you
Mm.
just picked up a Switch.
I
Is that
did
correct?
for the first time. That's true. Because I late night tweeted like, how do I find my friends?
How do I do this?
Is that because of Animal Crossing?
Yeah, it's because of Animal Crossing.
Oh my!
Mhm. I
The game
started
is
Oh,
Animal
unstoppable.
Crossing.
An
It
unstoppable
is. I
force.
know.
That
I was joking.
capitalist raccoon.
A capitalist raccoon. I know, it's so funny. I was watching my friend Anthony Carboni stream some Twitch stream some Animal Crossing, and I was like, and he was like, Sarah, what's going on? He saw me in chat, and I was like, I just want to understand Twitter because my Twitter is like 90% Animal Crossing. Like,
yeah.
like Twitter's already in my life, and I've lost touch with it because of this game. Now I have to go play it, I guess. Um, but I'm also very much looking forward to a game. I have relied on games taking care of me in times of personal crisis before, and so
Yeah.
I'm kind of like trying out different candidates to see which one is going to be the safety net that catches me this time. But I feel like it could be Animal Crossing. It's possible.
I think it is for a lot of people right now. I
Yeah.
also like everyone's talking about it. I have not picked it up. I don't own a Switch yet, but in the back of my mind, it's like now's the time. Everyone's
Yeah.
talking about this one game. You could be cool and popular too. And I'm like, maybe I'll wait. So,
Mhm.
so Sarah, when did you start playing games, and what game was it that got you like hooked into the game world?
Yeah. I hope this isn't too long an answer. I mean, the short answer is I don't really have memories much before games.
Okay.
Like I remember playing when I was very, very small at my cousin's on their Nintendo, things like Duck Hunt and what have you. Sunset Riders, I remember even more vividly for some reason. So that would be a memorable game that started me with games. But I think from then I was always transfixed. I mean, maybe it's because it was forbidden. I went to like a very crunchy granola sort of hippy dippy school from third grade on. And like we were never allowed to have consoles, but we rented them. We were allowed to rent them. And then of course me and my brother would binge on them, and then our parents would be horrified and the cycle would continue. Like, you can't own these. How dare you've broken your thumbs. What's wrong with you? Um yeah, so, and I was thinking about it too. Like I think that was the only time that my brother and I like really shared play. We really like, or I separated off from him in most ways except for having to come together to negotiate the console use.
Yeah.
Um, so we played together a lot too. Yeah, so I mean, I never owned a Nintendo, but I played a lot of early Nintendo and Super Nintendo. We rented a lot of Sega Genesis. Um, a lot of the Disney adaptations, a lot of the licensed Disney games for some reason are really memorable to me on the
Probably
Genesis.
because
Yeah.
how many controllers did you break playing Lion King?
Right? Oh
Oh
my God,
man,
that
that game.
wilderness sequence. Holy smack. Oh, so hard. But it's so good. So good.
Yeah, I don't think people nowadays like know how easy they have it with their quick saves and their
Right.
restarts and their checkpoints. There was no checkpoints in Lion King.
So
I think
hard.
there
They
were.
were like rocks, wildebeest, and that sequence was maddening. Yeah, it was hard. It was good. Yeah, and then I think really though, I think my imagination, kind of my soul started sparking off of the LucasArts adventure games. Um, I remember playing some Sierra or some King's Quest with my friend in her basement in middle school and younger. And then really like I have lots of really powerful memories of playing like Full Throttle for the first time and Curse of Monkey Island, and that the three in a row years of like Full Throttle, Curse of Monkey Island, Grim Fandango was a pretty serious era for me. I played a lot of Sims in high school, and then my boyfriend had a lot of had consoles, so we all let some original PlayStation stuff there, some Final Fantasy there. And then I
Final
owned my
Fantasy
first
7.
consoles. Yes, I caught the end of 7 and then 8, and then 8 changed, like did horrible things to my romantic template for the rest of the time.
Oh,
And then
man.
you go back and look at Squall, and you were like, you can't even articulate half of a thought, bro. Like you were so jammed up.
Because I'm always interested, because for a lot of people, Final Fantasy 7 is like the, hey, this was the moment I got into RPGs, and there's other people
Right.
like I skipped 7, like 8, 9,
Yeah.
everything after that.
Yeah.
So is
Mhm.
8
is
like your
bigger for me.
cornerstone of Final Fantasy for you?
It is actually, yeah. I did it.
Are
I
you?
dressed up. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go. I would rather hear your story.
About dressing up as Squall. Yeah, no, a friend of mine, Teddy Deef, who's an indie developer, we did one of the early there's a tradition. It was on hold this year called Chocobowl. It used to be called Square Bowl, where we would do a charity playthrough nonstop live of an entire Final Fantasy over the course of Super Bowl weekend. Sorry, the
Oh my
big game
gosh.
weekend, whatever. Yeah. Um, and so the first one, I think it might have been 8 or the second one or something, but I definitely dressed up as Squall for it, and I looked good. It
That's,
looked
and
really,
and
looks
there's
really
internet
cool.
evidence of this?
I think it might be on my Instagram if you go back long enough. Yeah.
We're gonna have to search for it now.
Go ahead. Good luck.
Oh,
Godspeed.
Did you
Black
also
and
play
white.
Final?
That's the clue.
It's black and white. Did you
It's a
also
black
play
and white
Final
photo.
Fantasy 7? And are you excited for the remake that just is going to launch tomorrow? Actually, it's probably
Yeah,
launching
it's so
tonight.
soon.
Just in a couple of hours, really.
I feel like I could probably get into again more because I'm just looking for a big like that game is so poignant, and I feel like poignancy is in the wheelhouse of things I need right now, that like maybe I'll get into it, and less so for nostalgia. Like I watched a bit of it. I knew how much it meant to my boyfriend at the time in high school. So that was more his thing, and 8 was the one that I imprinted on like a goose or something, like being born. Um but yeah, so I mean I'm excited. I'm down. I remember I also did. God, now they have like a really wonderful cast actually voicing these people. But back before this was even a concept, um, uh, Kirk Hamilton, who at Kotaku was like, "I want to show you why voiceover isn't always necessary," and then asked a voice actor to be part of that demonstration. And I was like, "Sure,
Yeah.
of course, why not?" Yeah, so he did one scene where it was just the music, and he's like, "Look how beautiful it is," and then we talked over it, and he was like, "Look how shitty this is." So I voiced Eris in a scene from Final Fantasy VII.
Awesome. So you can put that on your credits.
Yeah, right. That's right.
And then
Yeah, I
she'll watch
actually
the
met the
back
lady who
down.
did do the remake, and she seems very nice. I think her name is Brianna.
Brianna. So when you go in to do some voice acting, because this is something that I've always, I guess I just don't know, so I'm ignorant to how the whole voice acting process goes. When you get a call to come do an audition, I mean, do they let you know who you're going to audition for, what company it is, what title it is? Because I mean, if you're going in for something to go do like, Gears 5 or some other
Mhm.
game that you haven't heard of, I mean, that probably kind of sets different expectations, right? I mean, how does that
Right.
how does that even begin? Because
I don't know if you've heard
I'm
me
ignorant to
sigh.
the whole thing.
No, sure. It's a good question. It's an important question. Most people don't know. They just assume that we have all the information at our fingertips. Yeah, but I do sigh because no, we usually don't. Um, this is part of like an ongoing, not to talk contracts too much, but I am also involved in, sort of labor advocacy, just sort of talking more culturally, less like in a legal sense, but just sort of advocating for labor rights for both actors. I'm a member of SAG-AFTRA, and then also for game developers if however they choose to kind of walk the path of actualizing themselves as a worker group. But yeah, the actors for a long time were fighting really hard to get more transparency, and continue to want it. Transparency in their auditions so that they understand what's being asked of them. Some folks have very different sensitivities to, adult material or disturbing material or racial slurs, things like this. And then just me as a fan, if I know the franchise, I know worlds of information about the tone of the game, the world I'm stepping into, all kinds of things. So it's useful, and it's also essential for us to feel comfortable and empowered to do our work in the booth. But the answer is no. Games are quite secretive. They want to protect their marketing cycles and have other reasons for keeping that, for being worried that actors would leak. So a lot of the work that actors also have to do is to, establish good faith and kind of trust with the developers that we, at least those of us who do this work often, understand how secret it is and not to go blabbing about it in various places. So maybe maybe if we prove ourselves more, then they'll trust us to release more when we are in an auditioning phase. But yeah, no, we everything has a code name as a project. I'm plugged into games to a certain degree, so I can often guess at things like franchises if the branding is really strong and familiar. But yeah, but no, we're kind of like guessing a lot, and it's not the best position to have. If you want actors to like slot into your world and do what you're thinking, tell us what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Because some of
yeah.
those lines could probably be delivered with a little bit more, different context depending on the
Oh, yeah.
information that you have, right?
Mm-hmm. And we often don't
So,
get, we get anything from like 3 or 4 sentences and phrases without the other half of the conversation to like pages that look more like movie scenes. I mean, it's all over the place. Games, the information that we get is not standardized, is the other thing. So different people will tell you pages of world building lore. Other people will not. Sometimes you get character art, sometimes you don't. So yeah.
so when you went in to record lines for the female freelancer and Anthem,
Mm.
so as I played on both of them, I noticed there's kind of a big difference between your freelancer and Ray Trace's freelancer. Your freelancer seems way more confident.
Okay.
And Ray, and I don't know if it's just maybe the different direction that you and Ray were given, but his freelancer seems like, hey, I just got out of high school and I need to
Mm.
learn how to pilot this thing. And yours is like, hey, fresh sophomore year of college, let's get in here and let's do this. I
Mhm.
mean, what kind of direction were you given um, to be the freelancer, this character that people were going to play for hundreds and hundreds of hours?
Right. Yeah. It's interesting. I I love my director. Caroline Livingstone has been there, and I hype her so much, and I'm like, "You should talk more about your process because everyone is so attached to these performances. Like, we care so much about Bioware performances. Like, you should be out in the." But she's not like a games industry person. She's had this job at Bioware for so long, but she's like an actor who has a day job. And she loves us. She loves working with
Oh,
us, but like she doesn't think about it the same way. She like goes to work and does her job, and then she has her family and loves theater and all that other stuff. So, but anyway, all that to say, I think I'm trying to remember like what she would have said. I think a lot of it was left to me to kind of set, and I think I subconsciously integrated a lot of stuff from past BioWare games. And I think I focused on my values for like what I wanted to pass to the player. It feels like a big responsibility and a big opportunity to voice a player character, especially when in a BioWare game where you're going to have all kinds of relationships and so much variation. I mean, less variation maybe than in a normal BioWare game, but still. So what I focused on was, the stakes. I wanted everything to feel real. I wanted the world to feel real. I was trying to bring to you a world that felt consequential and real. And and being sort of your conduit to that. I wanted to feel like the trauma of the opening of events of the game was really fresh and had determined her, kind of changed her. She'd been affected by that, losing all those people, not being able to save them, not being capable enough. I mean, I feel like if I try to get in touch with her kind of core, she is like she is. I want you to feel capable. I think she's moderately capable. She doesn't have all the answers, but she takes everything very seriously. She takes the world seriously, the danger, the chaos seriously, feeling powerless in a chaotic, powerful world, unpredictable world, feeling that loss very deeply. So these are, I guess, maybe sort of more serious kind of tones. And I don't know. There's another way to look at it as an actor and as a player where maybe when Nate Drake falls from the top of a building and breaks what normally maybe he'd break every rib in his body and he'd be screaming
right.
holy heck. But instead he's like, oh, woo, oh wow, that was close. Like that's a
Right.
very different way, but it also feels true because you as a player are safe. That's another valid way to approach a player character, is that the reality that the player is safe and they're just trying to have a nice time after work or whatever is an equally valid way to approach how you treat the realism of your circumstances as an actor. I think I was like really passionate about making sure that you bought into the gravity of the place, and the history that she had, and just like, I think she's someone who's connected to her mission. She's protecting people. She's healing these broken relationships with her crew. The world is dangerous. So I think if there's I think that's like the stew of ingredients that I was drawing on, if I think about it. She has a lot to prove. And maybe that's a young thing. Like I think that's the irony, is that like if she's very, if she's intense, or if she's kind of like frustrated, that's like a young person's. It's like what you'd call, if she were a guy, you'd be like, she's a hothead, or like she's got to learn to have some grace. I feel like, if I don't know what's in the writers' heads at all, but like there's definitely room for someone who is frustrated and invested and tense and I don't think she's like that all the time either. But to go into a place of acceptance and grace and kind of surrender to circumstances. So I don't think of her as an old or mature person yet, even though she sounds like she can take on a lot of different action, which is true.
Yeah, and it really came off that way in the playthrough, because it does feel like, okay, this is someone that is growing. There's growth from the beginning, like you said.
Oh, thank you.
So the way you acted, it came through to me playing through there.
Oh, thank you.
And
That's really nice to
so
hear.
no, and it really is. I mean, a lot of when you're playing a live service game like Anthem, Destiny, like your connection to that player does mean a lot, because you're
Yeah.
spending, hundreds and hundreds of hours with
Mhm.
these characters. So it needs to feel not like, okay, this is, it can start to feel samey
Mhm.
over that period of time. And I think that's when like these voice lines, they just kind of burrow into your head. And it was
Hmm.
never something that was, okay, like this isn't believable. It was always something like, okay, I can see where this character has gotten, based on all the dialogue choices that we've made.
Hmm.
So I really appreciated your performance. It really came through,
Great.
and I
Thank
thought you
you.
did a fantastic job. And I'm not saying that just because you're on the show,
Because I'm on the
but
show. I would hope that you just
yeah,
wouldn't ask. You just politely avoid seeing me ever. If you didn't like it. That would
no.
be
So
much appreciated.
Sarah, can
Yes.
you walk me through, because I mean, this is Bioware, right? This is
Yeah.
one of the biggest name companies there is. So when you walk me through the process of you going to an audition and them saying, "Hey, we want you to do this." I mean, that's got to be huge, right?
Gosh, I mean, it was also just really, I've done big game. I mean, like big games, especially at that phase of my career, which is not that long ago, but still feels very different. Was a big deal. Big games are always a big deal. But like, I grew up loving Bioware. I mean, I like from high school. That's going to tell you how old I am. But like, Knights of the Old Republic was like vastly influential to me in terms of wanting to become a game voice actor. I idolize Jen Hale, and she's become a mentor to me and like a friend, and she's an extraordinary, generous human. But like those games and that company and the way that they approach story and the way that they approach character and who they cast, I always think they cast interestingly. I think they don't cast the same old
Yes.
cliched sound that you're used to. You know what I mean? Like you know what I mean. So I was like
Right.
so excited to work with them. So I mean, the answer to your question of like what is it like when they say do you want to do this, well, it was kind of a multi-step process, so I kind of just sort of stayed in denial. Like when I sent in an MP3 audition, I could kind of tell the tone from and the clues on the specs of what it would be, um and I didn't expect much. They called me in to do a day of shooting with Nick, who plays Halleck, who I'm still close with. I love Nick. All of that crew, we all became very close, but Nick in particular and I just sort of text each other all the time. But it always felt like the job was fragile, like they were testing stuff out, like they were just gonna kinda see, like I very much felt like I could still be recast, especially because I hadn't done like a proper performance capture audition, so now this test shoot I think was doing a lot to see whether I was gonna move okay. I mean, it's a first person, many of those cutscenes, not all of them, many of them are in first person, some are in third person,
Right.
right? So I was mainly going to be there in service to my other castmates, which I love. I love listening to people. I love like I'm not married to what my face is doing. Like I love just being in front of people and getting to do my job by listening to them do their thing. Um, so yeah, so I think they were just testing me out, and then they just kept having me back. So we just kept shooting more, and I just kept working. But for like the first year or and a half or something, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna recast me. I'm probably gonna recast me. It's fine. It's fine. This is nice. They can't take this away from me. They can't take that day away from me. Like I was convinced that I was just holding on to every good day that I had for a very long time, a really long time. So
a
I
year
never
and a
had that
half.
kind of
That's
like,
year and a half sounds like a long time. Is that normally how that process goes? I always imagine you just go in for like a week and you crank out all your lines and then you're done. But a year and a half sounds like a long time.
well, and I don't want to make it sound like they created that fear in me necessarily. I think it's more just like I've been recast before. I've been burnt. It happens. It happens at all stages. You don't always get to find out until it's until a game is out. Like it's all anything can happen, especially a game that big, and that important to the company. I mean, the company is doing this new IP, very, very risky. So like they really need to get it right. And so when everyone's aware that they really have to stick the landing, there's that sense of like, well, they sure could just replace me. They could use, I mean, like there's not they dubbed my performance capture with Ray. Like there's nothing that says they can't get an actor to come in and do booth voiceover for the whole thing at any moment's notice, and I wouldn't know. Um, so it's not normally how it works, but it's also always kind of possible.
Yeah.
Um, you know?
So interesting question. When after you record a big giant game like Anthem, you do Gears
Mhm.
5. I mean, do you go search through comments, seeing if like what people are
Mm.
saying about the voice acting? I mean, is that something you actively go out and search, or do you just avoid comment sections of the internet at all costs?
I should do that. I should
Okay.
do that. That's what I
Go
should
for
do.
it.
I have definitely searched for comments, and I think, it's my, like it's funny because maybe I have a distorted view because I actually, after I said this on Twitter, I was like, oh, woof. Um, Not everyone liked my performance as the Raider in For Honor. And then apparently some folks who were following me said that they followed me because of it. So it's like, but there was definitely a vocal minority that wasn't like so stoked on it. And I always felt like I think the sort of petty artist in you is like, well, you're listening to this, but listen to all my efforts. I love my efforts. I'm proud of my efforts. Listen to me
Mhm.
throw a punch. It's so good.
I'm
You're listening to the wrong
effing
thing.
so hard right now.
I'm efforting so hard. And I was like, you're going to hear that line once, but I'm punching so good for you, like 50 million times a day. But you can't do that, right? You can't do that. So that really tweaked me out. And then I think even just seeing people respond to Lizzie in particular has been like I'm probably letting it be too good for me. It shouldn't be good for me at all. Neither of these things should have any impact on me whatsoever. But I have to say, after that experience, it was like it warms my heart a little bit that people are enjoying her company, and it warms my heart that people would spend hundreds of hours. I can't even imagine. It's still hard for me to grasp because the process of making it and then the process of you playing it are so separate. Like it's still hard for me to believe that people spend hundreds of hours with my freelancer, but I'm so honored. I'm really honored. It's awesome.
And now you get to drop us the all the information about the anthem that they're working on now, and you've been in the
You're
booth
right.
right now, right? I mean, that's something that-
We just had this conversation about trust, Stephen.
Dude,
We
you can
just had
hear
this
the
conversation.
NDA. You can feel
Oh my
the
God.
NDA in the air right now.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, and maybe this is a good PSA. If you like a voice actor, don't ask them that stuff
Yeah.
because you're only going to get them in trouble. So
Yep.
if you want them to work, if you don't like the actor, I guess sure, try and get them to leak their NDA. Fine. But like, if you want them to work, keep them safe.
Yep.
Right.
Don't ask.
Oh,
And then Sarah, so I wanted to ask you, like talking about Anthem, all the voice acting you did for Bioware. You were also you played 4 different characters for Supergiant Games in Pyre.
That's true.
Um, Supergiant Games is one of my favorite developers, just because
Yeah.
every one of their games is gorgeous. Every one of their
Mhm.
games sounds beautiful. Um, I'm guessing Darren was your voice director for Pyre. Is that correct?
That's
Is
right. Yeah.
can he just play like every instrument that there
Yeah.
is? That
Yeah.
eh,
Yep. Darren's
have,
great.
have you,
Darren, I knew Logan first, maybe. Um, Back when I lived in Brooklyn. And I think Logan's still in Brooklyn. But Darren and Logan and I were all in Brooklyn at the same time. Excuse me. And I loved, I played Bastion. I enjoyed Bastion. I play tested Transistor, and I was just wanting to work with them so badly for so long. And Darren knew this. Um, but yeah, and then when there was an opportunity on Pyre, I was like extremely excited. Extremely excited. And yes, Darren can play everything. He is And he's for an audio director who doesn't necessarily have, he has some acting in his background. He's a good actor, and he has an incredible ear, and he's a good director. He's a very exacting sounds cruel. He's not exacting in a cruel way, but he's like precise about what he wants. And he has especially doing that custom dialect. I think I have an okay ear for accents. And then he would be like, you sound too American. Like, you sound too American. It's like made of like Italian and Hebrew and a couple of other things as a custom accent. And his ear was even more precise than mine. So yeah, but it was fun. It was really, they were very organized. I was amazed. And like the way that Greg came up with that custom dialect was wild and very, very thought out, very cool. So the process of recording on that was pretty special.
Nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think some of the stuff that they come up with over there, like they're working on Hades, and I mean, and Darren's also a voice actor himself. He actually does the voice for Zagreus. But yeah, I just anytime I hear someone that they've been in contact with Supergiant Games, I just get a little jealous because it's like, man, those guys are awesome over there. And anytime that they produce some pretty amazing stuff. So Sarah, I have an interesting request of you. Okay. This is something that I don't know if you can do. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. But Devin,
what?
He has one accent that he does.
I don't have any accents that I do.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I do not.
If there's any way you could help direct him to improve his Arnold Schwarzenegger.
What?
That you could do.
Well, this is interesting. I don't know if I should hear it first or just say up front. I mean,
I think we should hear
Steven
it first.
Steven is a liar. I don't even know what he's talking about.
Devin, can you give Sarah just one Arnold Schwarzenegger line, and maybe she can help you. She can coach you a little bit on how to improve it.
I don't understand. Steven says this that I have this Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonation, but I don't.
Well, let's hear it.
I wouldn't even know where to begin. I'd have to watch a movie, right?
His little check-ins with his with Whiskey and Lulu. Have you seen his little like? Yes.
I have.
Say, like, we're here having breakfast with Whiskey and Lulu. Yeah.
Come on, Devin.
My
gosh.
And also, you can totally back out of this because I don't do so well with requests like these. So you are welcome to back out of it.
I want to hear Steven do it first. Let's hear Steven do it first.
So what's the line? What do I need to say?
We're here having breakfast with Whiskey and Lulu.
We're here having breakfast with Whiskey and Lulu.
Oh my god!
I mean, that nailed it, right? I mean, that's pretty much that right there.
Can I take a whack at it?
Please.
Give it a try, Judy.
What's the line again?
We're here having breakfast with Whiskey and Lulu.
We're here having breakfast with Whiskey and Lulu.
And subtler.
All right, Devin, it's all you now.
All me now. Pressure's on. I don't understand why you think I do this good. We're here having breakfast with Whiskey and Lulu. Stay inside. Wash your hands.
Yes. Wash your hands.
Stay inside.
Stay inside and wash your hands.
Yeah.
I don't have an Arnold, but all of those were great. I mean, I think, and then that's the question of like, are we doing an impression or are we doing like an accurate recreation? Because impressions are allowed to be as bold as they please, as long as they feel familiar. So I feel like I give you all grade A marks.
Is it the voice that we hear? Is it the voice they hear? Right? No, I mean, it's like
I was always taught that you need to be able to whisper in their voice, to sing in their voice, and to shout in their voice. So,
that makes sense.
Everybody's got the shouting Schwarzenegger down.
Right.
But you got to get that kindergarten cop. Who is your daddy and what does he do?
Yeah. That's right. That's good. You can stress test characters too. I mean, even making sure that you know how they laugh. That's which is always a funny spot for me because I have so many laughs as a human, and none of them are like flattering or cool or like any of the things you hire an actor for most of the time. So when the Lizzie laugh kind of like, which I'm 100% certain they just took as an outtake from me trying to make myself laugh doing the laugh emote. That's as close to that's a me laugh. That's one of my many horrible laughs. So I was so excited that it would be of service finally. But yes, ideally you should be able to whisper and shout and all kinds of stuff. Laugh, cry, whole shebang.
Whispering is not my strong suit. Do you have any crazy warm-ups that you can share with us? Things that you do to get voice ready for recording?
Here's what I should be doing every day, and maybe if I give it to you like it's advice, I'll remember to do it myself. I use a coffee straw, like a little coffee stir straw.
Okay.
I know are like verboten now, but yeah. So you take the straw and you kind of put it between your lips and you buzz it like a kazoo. I don't know if I have a straw. I have a straw here somewhere. I could go get it. But anyway, and then I play my karaoke playlist and just sort of like buzz and hum along with the songs that I know and love to warm up my chords. Then that's specifically for warming up my vocal cords. It allows you to you get better sort of breath control and better resonance for minimal effort, which is your goal. I think that's the best way to stay safe as a game voice actor. Where you're yelling a lot is to understand how little you have to work in order to get a big sound or get a certain kind of sound, because it's tension that will hurt you. So there's massages. Like right now, my neck system is all messed up, which is not good for my voice. There's warming up the zones, I guess, would be your chords, your muscles around your face and everything, your mouth and your tongue. So I personally just sort of I'll sing songs with exaggerating the lyrics for extra diction. You can hear I have like a little bit of mouth noise right now, actually. It's not very crisp sounding. But
Green apple.
yeah, should I go green? I usually use Sour Patch Kids because they don't sit there and turn brown, but then anything sour will do that for you. Yeah, so I will mainly use the songs that I know, singing them gently, not loud, but gently. Yeah. So pick your favorite songs, get yourself a straw, and go to town.
So what is number one on Sarah's playlist for your
That's a good
karaoke?
question. Let me get my phone. I don't remember. Where's my phone? Is it close?
Oh,
it's not.
Also, I gotta ask. Do you ever do that vocal warm up where it's like, I think it's like either like a small cork or something like that, and you're supposed to say the entire alphabet between your teeth?
I have seen it. I've never done it really for work, but it's a good way to work your lips, right? Yeah. So what is on my playlist? I mean, all the bad ones come to like Testify is not one that's I love it for energy, but it's a very bad one for a vocal warm up. Like I used to listen to Testify by Rage Against the Machine before every For Honor session.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, right. Like that was the perfect vibe, but I have to be careful not to scream because that doesn't actually help my vocal warm up. But I have like a mix of male singers and female singers and Broadway and rock and pop and all kinds of stuff. So the variety is really good. What else is on there? I don't remember. Isn't that funny? Some Bob Dylan, I think, a little bit.
You've got to have. What's the popular stuff right now? That let's see, Gangnam Style. That might be on there. I'm guessing.
Wow.
Gangnam Style.
What's the most recent thing I just put on my playlist? I'm trying to think. I'm not a connected music person. I never expected myself to be a big Sarah Bareilles fan, but she is a soulful songwriter. She snuck in there. She's like a really wise lady who writes about real feelings. I like it.
Get the feeling in there.
She has an absolutely wonderful duet with Seth MacFarlane that is just incredible.
Honey, what's it of? The standard?
I'll have to double check what it was. Okay. I just remember it's the two of them.
Yeah. He does an incredible cover of Elton John's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, actually. That is
Love Won't Let You Get Away. It's a duet between him and Sarah Bareilles.
Alrighty. Yeah.
So Sarah, if someone was interested in getting into the voice acting business, where do they start?
Is that a coughing interested person?
Oh, I tried to break into the industry in college, and now I'm a teacher. So you can tell how that went.
Oh, that sounds like a very responsible decision to me.
Still getting paid right now.
Good for you. Mm-hmm. So wait, the question was, what should I tell them?
Or where do they get started? How do they get started? I mean, is there a place they should be going? Should they just be recording anything that they can just to get started?
I have some advice that's good for this. A lot of my industry advice is just this industry changes so much, and games in particular, what the processes and the technology that you're asked to be familiar with and fluent in changes so much. I mean, even just this week, right? Like these last 2 weeks, voice actors are having to suddenly upgrade to being pro engineers and with a home studio setup that's broadcast quality. And like, we're all always, it feels like we're constantly scrambling to stay relevant just in terms of what we need to know and do and all that other stuff. So be prepared for that. I mean, I think that's the first thing to know is that you have to do it. Like, you'll pick up whatever people are doing in the latest trend and the latest, equipment and whatever. But if you have to answer for yourself first that like you will regret something major about your life if you don't try as hard as you can to do this thing, because it's a really silly thing to do. I'm sorry to say that, but it is. It's a silly career. And how to be good at it and how to crack through changes all the time. So the first thing to know is like, yeah, I'm willing to invest in this long before I know that it's going to work out. Getting a home set up or getting your demo together or getting trained, all of that's money that you're pouring into yourself, and you have to be ready to see it go or ready to dive in with it. Folks who kind of look to do it like a hobby, which they're welcome to do if that's the only expectation they have. I mean, I don't think, again, like all I'm saying is it's not the smartest career. So if you do just want to like make voices on a microphone and like record stuff for yourself, that's awesome. But the big thing is a nutty thing to jump into. And so anything that I tell you could, aside from just working your craft, is going to change as far as current info. But yes, I think you can always get a microphone. You don't have to start out with this fancy microphone. Get like a Yeti, a Blue Yeti. Start recording copy that you already like or already hear in the categories that you want to voice. Be aware that different voiceover categories are pretty specialized from each other. So I've mainly worked in games and commercials. I've done a little bit of animation, not a lot, but each of those communities and practices are kind of different, and you need a demo for each of those. So write down copy that in those things that you want to say. I pair it back to my television all the time. I still do that. I'll pair it back to games that I'm playing, react to things I'm seeing on screen, sort of repeat after people as I'm watching, just so you have that experience of of the energy and the work coming out of you without you thinking about it. You have to remove your filters pretty fast. You can't be ashamed or embarrassed or nervous or tense, any of those things that are normal human emotions, especially on the spot. You just kind of have to wash away until you just are shameless and you don't worry about looking silly or sounding silly, because it's only the worry that's in your way. So there's a lot that you can do on your own, regardless of how the industry changes. But just be aware, it's a wildly changing game out there. Oh,
Yep, and I think
it's a game out there. Anyway.
I see what you did there. It's all coming out.
Hey,
Sarah, thank you so much for agreeing to come on the show. It's been a delight getting to talk to you about the industry, about your experience with Anthem and Bioware and being a voice actress. Thank you again so much for coming on. Would you like to tell all of our listeners where they can find you, where they can follow you
Sure.
with everything that you're doing?
Everything. I think I literally on Instagram just talked about a home accident. That's too much information. I have to remember that people can see these things. You can. I am on Instagram. I am on Twitter. Both of those things I believe are Selmaleh. So SELMALEH. Those are good ways to stay in touch. Let's see what else. I mean, that's it really. My Facebook is sort of is mostly tango people, honestly. So yeah. But Twitter and Instagram work for me, and it's lovely to hear from folks. I think there's a handful of people who play Anthem that pop into my mentions every now and then, and it's always nice to connect with people. So it means back at them, I would say thank you so much for having me as your freelancer. It really, when people say, so when you worked with Bioware, and my heart still skips a beat, it's still so surreal and so exciting to me. So thank you so much for playing with me.
That's awesome. And I hope there will be more in the future for you and your career, and for us as players of Anthem. We hope that there will be more in the future.
Me too.
And until then, everyone, thank you for hanging out with us for episode 120 of the Freelancer Codex podcast. And until next time, there's a Shaper Storm on the horizon, and we'll see you on the other side.
Strong alone, stronger together.
I'll let you say that again without me playing this music over there.
Okay, sorry. Strong alone, stronger together.
See, okay, now there it was.
There it was. It's totally different.
The game.
We're waiting the whole time to hear from your freelancer, and there she was.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to clip that out, and we will add it to our show intro.
That's sweet.
So here we go. I'll do this after.
Thanks for listening. You can find us on Twitter at Freelancer Codex, on Facebook at Freelancer Codex, or through email at freelancercodex@gmail.com. Join the Discord through the link provided at freelancercodex.com. Our show will always be free, but if you'd like to send some support, you may do so at patreon.com/freelancercodex. Our individual Twitter handles are at Steven Lamson, at mlamson25, at Neverfear, and at JD the Joke Dealer. Freelancers, it's time to get to work.